but still you're blind. Get yourself together, get before you take. You'll find out the hard way, soon you're gonna break. Hey, hey, hey.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is my regular Thursday blog. Today we have a dramatic story that's headlining all the newspapers in America. It finally got Rosie O'Donnell off the front pages, even Paris Hilton off the front pages, all the sex off the front pages. Nothing counts anymore. War doesn't count. The world doesn't count. Anything could collapse tomorrow. An earthquake could destroy America, and you wouldn't even notice it. Why? Because a big thing happened that's more important than anything else. Bloomberg, one of the flop mayors of all time, who was a living disaster in New York, and only got the job because he's got hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars. He bought his way into the mayoralty of New York, and now he wants to buy his way into the presidency of the United States. So everybody knows he has $5 billion, and they know he's ready to spend half of it to run for president. And everybody says, "Wow, is he going to run for president or not?" This is the main issue and the main question in America. Now let me ask you a question: If you had a record like he had till now, running the city of New York as a mayor, doing nothing for them and accomplishing nothing, literally nothing. If you ask anybody what he's done as a mayor, nobody could think of anything. All they know is that he's a great mayor. The next time somebody tells you what a brilliant mayor is, ask him, what has he ever done as a mayor? You know what they'll tell you? Oh, he did a lot of things. Like what? What? They have no idea what, because he never did anything. But they're very firm about it. He's done so much. Wherever it is. But you have no idea how many things he did in so many other departments. Which departments? Wherever they are. He's a man who's firm and he's tough and he goes ahead with what? With whatever he does. I thought we had a big market of fraud with the Democratic Party people, like Barack Obama, who never accomplished nothing in his life and sat on the chair in the Senate, and nobody knew why he was there or if he was there. If you asked anybody where he was the whole 2 years that he was in the Senate, they wouldn't remember, because if you're on the witness protection program, you don't get lost more than he was lost all his life. And for being lost all his life, he becomes a candidate for president. Why? Because he's tall, he's black, and that's close enough. Hillary has a better excuse for running for president. Her husband was a sex maniac, and she had no place to go because one sex maniac is not enough. So now you got a disease-ridden person who happens not to be a sex maniac. Nobody knows if sex is a field at all because nobody ever saw it with him or with another guy or with a girl or anybody else. So they don't know what kind of a eunuch she is altogether. And she's a person who has no feelings about anything except screaming and screaming and screaming that she's opposed to what? To whatever it is. Bush talks before he even says anything. She's mad about what? Nobody knows. She's on every side of every issue depending on what the poll says. And this guy, Bloomberg, all of a sudden decided to change the city after decimating the whole educational system. Everybody was celebrating the fact that he took over the educational system and it's now in his control. I would rather have it in the control of my sister-in-law, a dance team in Pittsburgh, a moron in some kind of a sanitarium, because everything he did to the educational system is a flop and a disaster, and the educational system is in the toilet in this city. Do you know that not one thing was improved, but everybody saw what a wonderful mayor. A wonderful mayor has a $4 billion budget surplus. The surplus of the city is now $4 billion. He has $4 billion to distribute because that's a surplus of money that the city never expected. Because he raised taxes by so much that he collected all this money that he has no use for. And he wouldn't give the cops more than $26,000 a year every week and a half. And as soon as he finds out that you can't win under this party, I'll try another party. He was a Democrat all of his life and a liberal all his life. And all of a sudden he found out the only way to run for mayor in New York is to run as a Republican. An hour later, he's a Republican. Then he did everything like an intense leftist liberal under the Republican banner, which means, in other words, that he created a fake name for himself. It's a fraud in terms of its identity. There's such a thing as a law which is called truth in labeling, truth in packaging for every product in America. Unfortunately, it doesn't apply to politics. In politics, you can make up any name, then function in a way that has nothing to do with the title you gave it, and all of a sudden you're defrauding all of America under a fake title, and everybody loves you. He didn't govern as a Republican. A Republican would never have raised all the taxes and allowed crime to go up and education to go out of control and not care about what of the consequences of the city. Now he's decided, wait a second, I've been a fake as a Democrat, then I was a Republican who was really a Democrat who pretended to be a Republican. Now if I'm a Republican and I want to run for president, nobody's going to vote for me as a Republican because they have real candidates with real personalities and abilities and experience and talent and brains. I can't compete with that. Maybe I could compete with them in a Bloomberg stock brokerage business, but in governing a city or a country is not my field. I know nothing about it. Why should I try to compete with them? But he says to himself, if he has to take a stand on the war, he never talked about it because he knows nothing about it. He's not involved in it. If you have to take a stand on foreign trade, he never discussed it. It's not his business. If you want to take no matter what the subject is, if it relates to taxation in America, he's afraid to mention it because you raise taxes and you could only run as a Republican if you lower taxes. So he can't run as a Republican. The Democrats don't need him because they have Hillary Clinton. They already have a fantastic liar. They don't need another one. They have Barack Obama, another turkey who accomplished nothing, who's also running for president. Since he's stuck between the middle of these two sides, he said to himself, let's see, what kind of a title can I make up this time that will give me a fake excuse to run for president? Maybe I'll make up another name. So he said to himself, I got it. I'll call myself an independent. You know why he's an independent? Because he's independent of any conscience. He couldn't care less about what he stands for because he stands for nothing. Man represents nothing and he is nothing. He's only one thing, a candidate. This man is a professional candidate for the rest of his life, and no matter when you see him, he'll become another person from another title, whatever is appropriate at the time that might get him elected under whatever name he could think of. You know why? He connects with nothing but himself, his desperate lust for power. He's a phony and a fraud. And no matter how many frauds there are in politics, and most of them are, he tops all of them. Because he stands for absolutely nothing but defrauding the people, raising their taxes, abusing their lives, and looking for a job. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Bloomberg. You got $5 billion, form your own island, go to your own country, create your own neighborhood, and govern it for yourself, and persecute people over there where nobody else lives. Go someplace where don't persecute the American people. We don't need you. We've been here before you, and we don't need a new fraud and a thief to come in and wipe everybody out.
Smiling faces, going places, and if they bust you, just keep on smiling through and through.